Hello everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today I'm going to try and work out who the most pointless character in all of musical theatre history is. Sort of. So I've mentioned a couple of times how I think Meg Giry from Phantom of the Opera is completely pointless. But then one day another thought occurred to me. There might be another character from another musical who's just as irrelevant. Peggy Schuyler from Hamilton. So before we go any further into this, I need to clear a few things up. I have not seen either show. I have not seen Hamilton, I have not seen Phantom of the Opera. I've seen the live at the Royal Albert Hall performance of Phantom on DVD, and I've seen a few of those clips that you can find around the internet of Hamilton, but I have not been to the theatre to see either of these shows. So I could just possibly be the worst person to talk about this subject. But we're gonna do it anyway. And finally, disclosure of bias, Hamilton is my everything. So we're going to start by looking at Meg. If I'm remembering correctly, Meg has 3 appearances in the original Phantom of the Opera novel. I read the Murray Rubert translation. I have no idea whether I'm pronouncing it right. This. 2 of them are simply mentions, and we will get back to that because there's a bit more to one of them. The time we actually see her in the book is kind of like the first time we see her in the show, where Christine's being asked about her angel of music, except there are plenty of other girls at that point, and Meg's not the one who asks her. I don't see why Meg has to be the one to ask Christine about her angel of music, especially given what I've just told you about the book. Obviously somebody needs to ask her about the angel of music, but why can't it just be an unnamed chorus member? Heck, Meg is literally a chorus member, like within the show. But I think she, and I think this is the same with Peggy, they're a little different from just straight up chorus members. They're more than characters that just pop up once or twice in the entire show to say one line. But at the same time, you kind of wonder, why are they there? They're kind of in this weird middle ground. Everything that Meg does could basically be done by one of those characters that just pops up to say one line. So back to the other little mention in the book. Even though we don't actually see her at this point, she is a main motivator for Madame Giry helping Eric, aka the Phantom. The Phantom shows her a list that says Meg would one day become a countess or something. I think it's a countess. If it's not, I'll put what it is on the screen. That's not in the show if I remember correctly, so that doesn't help her case. So now we're going to move on to Peggy. Well, doesn't her big signature line say it all? There's a reason she's come to be known as Aunt Peggy. Like Meg in the book, Peggy really only has 3 scenes that she's in. Obviously she's in The Schuyler Sisters, and then she's in Helpless and Satisfied. But the only time she actually says anything is Schuyler Sisters. Just as an aside, if you count all the lines each girl has in that song, not including the bits where they're all singing together, Peggy actually has 1 more line than Eliza. It's in the very background of a few of the other songs. If you look at the clip of my shot that you can find on every montage ever, the girls are actually up the top. And I saw an interview with Lynn, I think it was when he was on Ellen, where he talked about once during the performance he just happened to look up and see Jazzy up there during Right Hand Man, and he forgot his lyrics. But discounting those ones where she's in the very, very background, and the opening number and the closing number, because Peggy's actually not in the opening number, and I don't know about the closing number. Actually, from what I can gather, it seems like for the dual roles, they're playing their Act 2 characters in the opening number, and they're playing their Act 1 characters in the closing number. It's a little weird. I think Meg has a few more appearances in Phantom than Peggy does in Hamilton, but again, for a lot of them she really just is in the background as a chorus member. And that's what I really think. In a lot of ways they're kind of just chorus members for the most part. I mean, aside from Schuyler Sisters, does Peggy actually really do anything? I don't really think so. But then again, I don't think she really needs to do all that much. So she does exactly what she has to do, and even though it's not a lot, because of that, it wouldn't make any difference whether she was there or not. So she can stay. Meg, obviously, as we've mentioned, does do things, but I still don't see why it has to be her that does them. From what I can see, the only thing that makes her really different from, well, any other chorus member is that she's the one to ask Christine about the Angel of Music. If there is some pre-existing connection between her and Christine, I don't remember it at all. Having somebody else do what Meg does wouldn't change the story at all, as far as I'm concerned. Heck, the two big things she does in the musical, she doesn't in the book. Ultimately, neither of these girls are completely pointless to their musical, otherwise they would not be in them. But at the same time, as I said, I sort of think they're in this weird middle ground that makes me wonder why they are there as named characters. I went into this video determined to prove that Peggy mattered more than Meg did, just because of how much I love Hamilton, and that Meg doing the things she does is basically justifying her existence in the show and blah blah blah. But as I was writing these notes, trying my best to put my bias aside, I realised I don't really have a definitive answer on this as to who is more pointless in her musical. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I am totally unqualified to be making this video, in all honesty. I have not seen either of these shows. I have seen as many clips as I can find of Hamilton here and there. I mean, I've watched the new specials and documentaries you can find on YouTube, but most of those don't actually include Peggy. And as for Phantom, I've seen the DVD, but that's it. We don't talk about the movie. It's been so long since I saw the movie anyway, and I doubt I'll ever see it again. I do really want to see both of these shows, but I haven't as of making this video, so I really don't have an answer on this. But of course, the moral of the story is completely clear. If you're in a musical and your name is a diminutive of Margaret, your role is probably pretty small. Also, Peggy really existed, Meg did not. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Do you disagree, or can you kind of see where I'm coming from? Also, who's your favourite out of these two ladies? I think it's pretty obvious who my favourite is. It's Aunt Peggy. Look up the story about how she saved her baby sister. It's awesome. She's awesome. And that's everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long, farewell!